Hi, Mark, happiest birthday.
Hey, Rock. Happy birthday, Mark.
Sup, man? Happy birthday, Mark.
What up? What up? Happy birthday, big bro. Happiest birthday.
Hey.
Excited to be here. This is crazy, Rock. It's kind of cool how you introduce yourself as Rock. I feel like Gary Vaynerchuk has D Rock, and I've got, what do we call you? T Rock, Z Rock. We got to call you something. It's kind of crazy. I've never seen a team do this for a creator or lead before. So I'm just really honored that y'all can be part of the team, part of this movement, helping clients just really get an amazing podcast out there, saving people time, and helping people build businesses the right way. So I'm very humbled to be a part of all y'all's lives right now. So thanks for having me.
Well, first of all, it's all you. We are just a part of your journey. You are the person who does everything. You are the expert in everything. I don't know how you do it, but you're the one.
It's surrounding myself with the right people, brother.
Right on, right on. So, Mark, let's start off with the fact that you have hosted hundreds and hundreds of episodes, and you have brought in guests, uh, over hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people with industry experts like uh, Jasmine Starr, Hala Taha, David Meltzer, Evan Carmichael, and the list goes on and on and on and on. So, Mark, last episode, in fact, on the new before the new year end that 2021 ended, you had a solo podcast. You said your wishes, aspirations, and your goals for 2022. One of them was to tell better stories. So, in that field, I wanted to ask you, what made you start your media company, start this podcast, and have this team, worldwide team? What makes you tick? What makes Mark Savant? What drives Mark Savant? What's your story, Mark? Tell us.
Wow. So there's multiple questions there, and I guess I'll start with the first question of what kind of set me on this journey, because I've been an employee my whole life. I worked in retail. I worked in sales, insurance agencies. I've always been an employee. Washing dishes. Holy crap! Don't bring me back there. That was horrible. But I've always been an employee. So a few years ago, about five and a half years ago, I was visiting my grandparents, and my grandfather pulled me aside while my grandma is playing with my kids, and my kid at the time and my wife. They're talking, and my grandpa pulled me to the side, pulled me up next to his easy chair. We all have a grandpa that has that easy chair that nobody sits there except grandpa. So I sit next to grandpa, and he pulls out this old leathery book, and he starts flipping through the pages, and he's showing me his history and his life, his newspaper clippings, different things he's accomplished, certifications, photos. And I had this kind of like aha moment where I said to myself, I'm going to be doing this one day. And what do I want my story to look like? I could continue along this path of just getting by. Everything is fine. or I can take action and I can make a life for myself, because tomorrow's not promised. So we got to start today. And that was really, I think, the aha moment for me. And I'll give him a lot of credit that set me on my path to starting to create and build businesses. And it's been a long journey since then.
Well, I could see you, I think, when you grow old in that grandpa chair, telling even better stories. Well, in fact, I had a grandpa who used to tell me stories. In fact, I was kind of going back to the time when he used to tell me stories. So basically, now that we know that how Mark Savant Media formed and your podcast started, so to tell better stories. In fact, on the topic of Mark Savant Media, we have another question. Well, I'll not ask the question. I'll let the expert ask the question. Rez, over to you, man.
Hey, thank you, Rock. You rock. Well, my question for you, Mark, I'm very curious, like, what was your biggest challenge growing the brand, your Mark Savant Media? We want to know.
Oh, gosh. The biggest challenge. I mean, the biggest challenge is you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
And when you first get started, it's like, I didn't have any history with building a business, right? I went to college. I got a degree in business management and marketing. I took like a semester course on accounting, but that doesn't really prepare you for everything, right? So I think that for me was one of the biggest challenges. Because I think with anything, you have to try different things before you find what's right for you. And my first show, when I first got started, this isn't when I first started, but my first show, my first kind of foray, I said, I'm going to sell dad t-shirts. And I started a dad podcast, and I started posting stuff on Instagram. And I fell in love with podcasting, but I didn't sell many shirts. All right. I sold like, I don't know, a dozen or 24 shirts, but the profit margins on print on demand stuff is so low. It was like peanuts. But what was interesting to me, Riz, was by taking that step and by putting stuff out there, I started to get feedback from the community. People started telling me what they wanted with their dollars. So when people started paying me to help them build out their podcast and their social media presence, I said, okay, we've got something. Let's start building it out. The hard part for me as an after-hours entrepreneur was I still had a family. I still have a full-time job. And so trying to build out an infrastructure that allowed me to help people, was, I think, a real challenge.
Wow, that was very interesting and inspiring, Mark. Well, to share to everyone, one thing I learned from you, Mark, is done is better than perfect. And
Yes.
truly, that really sums it up for me. So it's on you, Rock.
I will say that, done is better than perfect is so important. And listen, it doesn't mean that we don't aim for perfection, but it's just impossible, and I think, for me and for y'all, for a lot of the team here, we're very creative people. And as creative people, it can be really nerve-wracking to put yourself out there, to put something out there. So I just got to say that I am flabbergasted that y'all would be here on a podcast with me live, putting your faces and your voices out there, because I know how difficult it can be. So y'all definitely encapsulate that ideal of done is better than perfect. So I'm just really honored that y'all would get outside your comfort zone today, especially Rock Team, who I'm sure was sweating backstage.
We're learning from the best, Mark. We are trying to learn from the best, which is you. Well, I don't want to shift topics, but I want to just dive in a little bit into your podcast, The After Hours Entrepreneur. By the way, an excellent name. I don't know how you did it, but it's an excellent name. Well, let me not ask that. Let me transfer it to the people who are handling all the social media and your other channels, starting with Rielko. Over to you, man.
Roger that. So, what were the first names before the? What were the prototype names for the after hour show?
Oh man, the prototype names. There were so many, bro. I like, and y'all, most of y'all were here when we first started the After Hours Entrepreneur Show, and we had like 30 episodes banked up, right? And you know why that is? It's because I couldn't decide on a name.
Yeah.
And I just like months and months of walking and pacing in this dark, dank room, doing keyword research, writing down name after name after name, and nothing stuck. And I think everyone can empathize with this. You find that perfect name and you're so happy, and you go to get the domain and someone already has it.
Yeah.
Or even better yet, you can buy the domain for like $20,000, So I really struggled to find the name, but the eureka moment for me came when I got out of my comfort zone, or in my lab here. And I was going on a car ride with my wife. I can't remember where we were going. We were on a car ride. We were on the interstate. We were on the turnpike, actually. I remember we're going northbound. I believe we were going to Lion Country Safari or something like that. Anyway, I digress. So we're on this car ride, and I've got my pen and my pad, and I'm explaining to my wife what the show is all about. And all of a sudden I just said it. It's for After Hours Entrepreneurs. And it was like, ding, that's it. And for me, it was that aha, it was that eureka moment, right? And for me, the lesson there was, if you're stuck, if you're not sure what the next step is, change your environment. Start putting it out there and move into a different space. And that's been really formative for me in making decisions, especially creative decisions.
100%, Mark. Completely agree with you. When you change your place or the situation on the environment, a lot of things, creative juices kind of starts flowing in. So I can totally understand with you, 100%, man. In fact, during the opening, I was telling you that you had interviewed so many people with hundreds of episodes, over almost, we're close to around 300 episodes for this particular podcast. In fact, you had previously done other podcasts as well. So you have industry experts like John Lee Dumas, Hala Taha, Jasmine Starr, David Meltzer, Evan Carmichael, and I just can't stop. The list is so huge. So, in fact, a question regarding that, it will be asked by a very interesting team member, and it's an interesting question. Over to you, Larry, man.
Let's go. Yeah, I really want to ask you this one, Mark. What is one guest interview that left a mark on you and kept you thinking, that's interesting. Why didn't I think of that? Or I can do that.
Wow. There's been so many great guests and great moments. One of the moments that really stands out to me was with Jasmine Starr. And I didn't know a lot about Jasmine before I brought her on the podcast. I mean, I knew of her. We were in a clubhouse room and we were vibing, we were chatting. I said, listen, Jasmine, let me get you on my podcast. And she agreed, which, by the way, if you're looking for great places to find great guests, getting into these social audio rooms is great. It's really, really powerful. But I brought her on the podcast, and when I was first starting my show, I did all this research about how to do interviews and how to be a better interviewer and whatnot. And everybody has a different opinion on how to be a great interviewer and how to host a great interview. And I think it's all bunk, quite frankly. I think it's all BS, because within 3 minutes of Jasmine Starr coming on the show, I had this aha moment. She comes on and she's using slang. She's completely thrown away the guidebook to how you should do an interview, like be very proper and make sure that you change your voice and make sure that you're asking very brief questions and not interjecting your own opinions and stuff like that. Within 3 minutes, actually within probably 60 seconds, Jasmine comes out swinging with energy and slang and telling her unique story. And I really realized in that moment that the way that media is going, it's not about following a formula. It's about being uniquely you. It's about using your own words and your own voice and adding your own opinions. And when it was like a real shift in my mindset for how interviews should be done. And honestly, I had already done a couple hundred interviews before that. So I wish I'd have gotten Jasmine on sooner, because that for me was like a real aha moment. And I really think that the audience has been attracted to to the show more now that I can kind of set aside that, that podcast Mark, that interview style Mark, and really just bring myself. So I think that Jasmine Star for me is the one that jumps out right at front as being really formative in the way that I handle my show.
100%, Mike. 100%. In fact, I remember while editing the podcast, I was like, okay, the interview just went from a very formal interview to like, what the hell kind of thing. I was like, okay, I was blown away. But
yeah, she's like, boom, boom, boom. She's spiking.
Right.
And by the way, when I look at the downloads, when Jasmine came on the show and we started in it was like we had a huge spike in downloads, and I think a lot of that's because of the way that she puts herself out there.
Yeah. Well, everybody should have a bit more of Jasmine flair in their life.
Agreed. She's awesome.
I just want to shift topics a little bit to social media and how you can leverage social media, especially the way you have leveraged the organic growth. In fact, we have a person who wanted to ask you the question, who is very well versed in this particular field. So let her ask the question. Rez?
Hi, I'm back. My question is, I think I haven't told you this, Mark, and I'm really inspired by how the fact that you are not moved just by numbers, like social numbers, like the number of likes, the number of followers on social media. And thus, I wanted to know what made you love slow organic growth or that organic growth. What made you love it?
Well, listen, I wouldn't say I like slow
Yeah.
organic growth, but I like authentic growth. I think for me is what's important. The problem is with the way that a lot of people do social media is it's all just smoke and mirrors.
Yeah.
It's all fake. It's all fake, and I mean, this became really apparent to me when, I would bring on a client and as soon as we brought them on, their likes would go from like 1,000 likes per episode to like 5, or per post to like 5 likes per episode. And that's because they stopped paying people to like their posts. And I just really dislike that kind of, that kind of like falseness that happens in a lot of social media. I mean, you can see it. It's honestly, it's really obvious if you know what you're looking for. You'll go to a post. I've seen this before too. Like, I saw this just the other day, and I'm not gonna throw people under the bus, but there's someone that I follow that's got like 50,000 followers. He put on a post on his Instagram page. Within about 3 to 5 minutes, he had 1,200 likes and 0 comments. And it's like, you don't understand. You're defeating the purpose. Now, I think one of the reasons that people do this, is because it builds social proof. Yeah. And when people see other people liking and commenting and stuff, they're more likely to do that. It also helps potentially boost the algorithm, maybe. It's also good for landing sponsors and advertisers because you can actually show KPIs, key performance indicators and numbers. But honestly, I think that advertisers are going to catch on. And I think that kind of falseness is going to bite you in the butt.
Right.
So I think that authenticity and trying to create real connection is more important than that short-term gain. I think that the long-term gains that you get from really building engagement with real people pays off more in the long run than fast money don't last long, I think is the saying I go by there.
Right. Super agree with you there, Mark. Authenticity.
Yes.
Yeah, man. Totally agree with you, Mark. Totally agree with you. Using the power of organic growth in social media is totally underrated. And you've done it with finesse. You've done it phenomenally. And you've showed people how to do it. And you've had a lot of success in that aspect. And talking about success, our graphic designer Joy had a very interesting question for you. But due to some connection issues, she's unable to ask it herself. So let me ask the question on her behalf. She wanted to ask you, Mark, what is success for you?
What is success? Wow. I think honestly, I think success is kind of like a moving target. You know, I think what success means to me today is probably going to look different in 10 years. But I think for me, success looks like, you know, waking up every day and actually enjoying what I'm doing, actually getting fulfillment from what I'm doing. You know, there's lots of people that make money but aren't happy. And I just want to wake up each morning with a sense of purpose and feel like I'm enjoying what I'm doing and I'm actually impacting people in a positive way.
Wise words, man. Wise words from a wise man. Well, I know we are kind of running short of time, but I would remiss if we didn't ask you. In fact, if Angelo didn't ask you this question, and we all wanted to ask you this question since a long time, but Angelo beat us to it. So, Angelo, over to you.
Thanks, Rack. So, Mark, you mentioned about purpose in relation with success, and it made me remember about this book I read last year. It was Know Your Why by Simon Sinek, and it was an awesome book because it also helps us figure out what to do things in life and how to do them. And basically, it all boils down to our purpose. And as a podcast host, as an entrepreneur, as a family man, how do you balance your roles in these aspects in life? And how do you manage your time to balance them out and to make them work? Because working with you over the past year, I realized that you have achieved so much and you were able to provide well for your family at the same time and establish great connections with people all over the world, not just in America. So, how do you manage your time in achieving success in the things that you do, and especially with the multiple roles that you also prioritize?
Wow, that's a big question. And I got to give you a shout out, Angelo, because you're definitely you're juggling a lot too, from, you know, from school to this position to other jobs you're doing. Plus, you actually launched a play this past year, right? And you're writing a book. So I definitely got to give Angelo a shout out, and we got to throw some links to what
Thank you,
Angelo's
Mark.
doing in the notes here. Yeah, it's super impressed. This is a really tough question because there's no true, I think, balance in life, but there's a few things that I've done. One of which is being thoughtful about when you're doing what, because your brain functions in different ways throughout the day, you know? And so putting your head in the right mind space is really important. I was talking to Evan Carmichael about this question, and he actually has theme days. So he'll have public facing days, he has accounting days, he has team building days. And I think that's a really smart way of going about it. So if you wake up and, you know, John Lee Dumas does this too. He does all of his guest interviews one day a month, and he'll just go boom, boom, boom. He'll knock out, you know, 50 interviews in one day, right? And I think that's a really smart thing is theming out or being a little bit more thoughtful about your days. That's definitely something that I think about. The other thing is just communicating with your loved ones. My wife and I, we have a specific day of the week that it's date night. We don't touch the phones. We don't go online. We actually spend that time specific. It's set aside. So I think that's important. Blocking out time. You know this as well as I do, Angelo. There's times that I'll block out an entire day or certain periods of time. And going into this year, I'm being more thoughtful about that as well. And then lastly, I think, you know, if you really want to be empowered to spend your time the way you want, you need to empower others to do what they do best and to do what they enjoy doing. You know, we've had a lot of different team members come through Savant Media. And one of the things I learned early on was you can't fit a square through a circle hole, you know? So finding what somebody wants to do, communicating with them, getting feedback, and then finding a way for them to actually perform that role, I think is really important to giving those around you empowerment, both with this business and the other insurance business that I'm a part of. So I think the biggest concepts for me would be, theming out, being thoughtful about where you're spending time, and empowering others around you to be support systems, which y'all know very well. There's no way that any of this would be possible without the hard work and effort that y'all put in. And really, I know that I can be, I don't necessarily know if I would use the word difficult, but I ask for a lot. I ask for a high level of quality. And for whatever reason, I've been blessed or cursed with this thing in the back of my head where every time I see something, I try to pick apart what could be better, which I think can be frustrating to people sometimes. But it goes back to what Riz mentioned earlier. Done is better than is perfect, yes. But if we don't learn from that finished product, and if we can't make our next product a little better, then what's it for? So anyway, that's something I struggle with is putting pressure on people to elevate their game without bringing them down. And so that's something that is a really fine line. And I think that's what separates great leaders from either good or bad leaders. So that's something I'm working on.
Woo! Mark Savant, the extraordinary, the expert who has done so many podcasts. I can't even remember how many I have edited. In fact, to kind of paraphrase your thing, we make podcasting simple and fun. And before we let you go, guys, it's time. Mark has done this to a lot of guests that he has interviewed. A lot of them kind of couldn't answer it properly. They were kind of scared because it's time for your rapid fire.
Let's go.
Yeah. Well, we'll start off with Angelo. Over to you, man.
Okay, Mark. So how would you define 2021?
Growth.
Name one episode, Mark, that everyone of your follower, after our entrepreneur subscriber, that they should watch. It's a must watch for you or listen.
I would say it's my About Me episode, which I'm going to be updating very, very soon because over the course of the last 190 episodes, I've learned a lot. And one of the cool things with podcasting is you can always re-upload. So listen to my About Me episode. It's, I think, the third most popular episode of the show.
Exciting.
Yeah, for you, who is your dream guest for your podcast, Mark?
I'd love to have Gary Vaynerchuk on the show. Chris Do. Chris Do is probably one of my tops. I'd love to chat with Jordan Peterson. I'd say those are my top three.
Hi, Mark. So, what are the 5 must-have elements that every thumbnail should have on YouTube?
Ooh, I should be asking you this question, V. The top 5 elements that every thumbnail must have. It has to be catchy. It has to have some sort of nice color that catches the eye. Not much text. Very few text. You want to have faces. And it has to make a promise. And the video has to keep that promise.
When you were a kid, what was your dream job? And what prompted you to pursue a career in the podcasting industry?
You're going to laugh. My dream job as a kid was to be a cow. I wanted to be a cow. Yeah. That was my... I don't know why.
Holy cow, bro. Holy cow.
What cow?
Yeah. It's a nice, relaxing job, I guess. But as I grew older, I recognized that, a life without responsibilities is not a very good life. You need responsibility to be happy.
Right. And last and final question for you. If you had 10 seconds with yourself 10 years ago, what would you tell Mark?
Well, the first thing I would say would be invest in Bitcoin. But if I had 10 seconds for myself 10 years ago, I would say start getting comfortable with discomfort. Start trying different things. What you're doing today is not what you're going to be doing in 10 years. So start exploring and find the right lane.
Well, Mark said it, and we all agree with it. Mark, happy birthday. Wish you all the
Happy
very
birthday,
best for
Mark.
2022. And
Thank you, everyone.
peace out, bro.